ambulances are ready, Sarge. Officers only.
What about the other ranks?
Some lorry drivers outside have volunteered to take the men to Millbank Hospital in their dinner hour.
Thank you, Corporal. All right, men, get yourselves fell in. Come on now, pick 'em up. Keep smiling. You're out of the war now. Pack up your troubles in your own kit bag and smile, smile, smile. While you've a Lucifer to light your fag. Smile, boys, that's the style. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
When it got to 1915 and 1916, the soldiers coming back from France wounded, thousands of them. They began filling the hospitals, and then they found that there wasn't enough room in the hospitals to accommodate them all, so they began opening some of the country houses, the great big country houses that we have in England, and they began opening those as hospitals, and some of them were opened as convalescent homes so that they could release the soldiers from the hospitals very quickly. One day, the man who lived just down the road from us was a foreman on the railway station in the goods department, and his children told us that their father had told them that a Red Cross train was going through the station that day. We found out the time and we all decided to go, so about 8 of us ran down to the station to wait for the Red Cross train to come through. And when it came, you could see the soldiers inside, and the nurses began, when the train stopped, the nurses began getting out of the different carriages. Now, the trains in those days were quite the old type. They were just single carriages, no corridors and no saloons or anything like that. The soldiers were just in single carriages. And so, of course, the nurses had to keep moving up and down the train to different carriages to give treatment here and there all the way up the train. And they'd got these nurses with them who was attending, I suppose, giving them injections and things like that, if they had them in those days. I've no idea. A lot of the bandages had blood stains on them, and of course we stared in horror, really. And I remember seeing one man whose head was bandaged from top to bottom. Even his eyes were covered up and his nose, and there was just a space for his mouth where he could breathe in and out. And he was sitting there in the carriage, and I think his arms were bandaged as well, but I can always remember his head bandaged, the whole lot of it, and wondering what had happened to the man's face. And then there was another man in that carriage with his legs sticking out with splints, and I suddenly noticed that he hadn't any feet. Oh, it was horrible, really. Oh, I thought, this terrible war. Even as a little child, I realised the horror of it. And we shouted into the carriage, "You're nearly there. It's only the next station." And all these children started going all the way up the town, shouting into every carriage, "You're nearly there. It's only the next station." And they were all so overjoyed, these soldiers, to think, at last, we're nearly there. They'd come all the way from France. They must have just had dressings on them and that, and then put onto the ferry and then put straight onto the train, you see, without much attention, really. I always remember that very well, and thinking, oh dear, they'll soon be filling the school, you see. The one school had been turned into a hospital, and the school that I belonged to, it was a big Victorian school and not suitable for a hospital at all. They decided to divide the school day and make it that one school went in the morning and the other school used the buildings in the afternoon. When they announced that we were only going to school half a day, we children were terrifically excited. Oh dear, to think we were going to have a half a day's holiday every day. It was wonderful for us.
rides on Sunday.